Thought I'd start doing some videos on things I've learned taking care of aquatic turtles. Grew up loving turtles. One of my first pets had 4 or 5 box turtles at different times growing up. Had one as recently as about 3 years ago in 2020. And bought these aquatics this last year. This is the setup I've had them in. There's been a lot of variations of how I've set the rocks based on where they like to hide and their swimming patterns. So we'll do an update because they're about to get a whole new tank upgrade at my nephew's, and we're gonna set things up for this little new Eastern painted we got here. This one here is Lacey. She is a yellow belly slider. Mac is down there. He's an Eastern painted. And this one's Bruno. He's an Eastern painted as well. And then started doing feeder guppies. Had beautiful real guppies. Some of these rocks look pretty dirty. I assure you, I just cleaned the water yesterday, drained nearly the whole tank. That is important with your hatchling turtles. Out of the 3 I've had now, 2 out of 3 of them have got respiratory infections. The first one did not make it. He dealt with it for months, and even though we went into the summer months and he had 80-degree temps pretty much constantly, he didn't make it, but he wasn't ever incredibly sick, just up and down. It was a couple of bad days of him making the squeaking, kind of open mouth squeaking noise, and I would put a humidifier by him. Tried a lot of different things. Called the vet and raised the temperature in the water. The only thing I wasn't doing back then that I've learned now is I didn't run a water heater. I bought Lacey and her mate Graham from a breeder in person at an expo. So the 2 yellow bellies came together as a pair. That is the water heater. I wasn't running that in the beginning months, and it was still getting down to about 65 in my house at night because it was March. Since heating the water, Mac did get a respiratory infection and heard him squeak for a couple days. I've had this humidifier in here ever since. First sign of your turtle getting a respiratory infection is their buoyancy. They can't, one of their lungs is affected, which makes them swim at a little bit of an angle. So they'll swim up to you, but they'll be angled instead of just flat. You know, when turtles are relaxed and floating on the surface, they should be completely just flat. Mac started swimming a little bit sideways. That's when I got concerned, and that's when I upped the heat in the tank to 85 degrees. I upped the basking spot past 90 degrees, and I started feeding him double the amount of food, and he snapped out of it pretty quick. Those were things I did not know when I had Graham, the yellow belly. Graham was the same age as Mac, right around when he succumbed to the respiratory infection. He was eating every day. He never got to a place where I could tell he was like, you know, nearly dead or anything. I obviously would have taken him to the vet had I known. He ate the day before. He was basking the day before. He was acting pretty normal. Here goes Lacey with a piece of salmon. Salmon is one of the things that I feed my hatchlings. I don't hear a lot of people say that they feed hatchling turtle salmon, but I do. It just comes off of my meal, and then I put it in a little, that white tray down there. I let it dry, and then it's kind of a treat for them until they both love it. Anyway, Graham was about the same age as Mac. Mac's about 5-6 months old now, where Lacey's 1 year old this month. And Graham was, like I said, he squeaked, but up until the end was basking, eating. He never didn't move from one place to another for hours. He never showed all the signs that the vet told me if he shows, you know, A, B, or C kind of signs bring him right in. He never showed those. So it is tricky. But what I have learned is heating the water. If your turtle hatchling swims up to you and it's at all tilted in the water, if its shell is at all tilted and it's not just floating flat, you got to crank that water temp up to 85 degrees and you got to get the basking spot, which I bought this off of Amazon. It's like their cheapest laser. Something I didn't own before Graham died, but of course after you lose a turtle like that you don't want to lose another one, so I bought this laser. Anyway, my point is, if you're wondering how do I know how hot it is, that's how you know. These lasers are meant to turn on. You point it at something and it's reading the glass of the tank is 81 degrees, and then you put it right on the basking spot. So you would hang it right over the basking, read the temperature that way, and then you point it straight in the water to read your water temp. The first heater I bought for them was a Tetra water heater that holds the water at 78 degrees. That one I learned is more for fish, because I had guppies in here that were actually not feeder guppies. They were the beautiful kind that, you know, cost you more like $7 a piece versus these that cost 20 cents a piece. And realized I made a mistake by buying a 78 degree water heater, because the turtles are the main, you know, pet in this aquarium. Not that I don't care about the fish, but they don't live long lives anyway. They have already died once they got a little bit sick. The turtles went after them and ate them. So I stopped buying the nice beautiful Dumbo ear and other guppies, because the turtles caught on that, oh, I can eat these things, which is, I knew was going to happen one day. They just happened to get big enough after 3 or 4 months being with the guppies that they were, if they could notice any weakness in the guppy at all, they would just eat them, which is the circle of life. It's one of their main foods in the wild. So I forgot my other point there, but oh, it was the water heater. Don't buy the ones that auto set to 78, in my opinion. They're just not warm enough. For this guy, we just got him yesterday. He is tiny. That I put that little gemstone in there just to remember how small he is. This is my thumb next to him. My thumb is bigger than him. He's the size of a quarter. When they're that small and that delicate, they need 82 degree water and then up to 85 if they become sick at all. I have my tank set right now at 82, and that's just standard everyday heat. So I wanted to get on here and show you. It's a little different than my music, obviously, but I've just become kind of in love with turtles again, and I thought I'm not going to start a whole other channel just to talk about turtles. I'll just put it on my regular channel here and just tell you guys what I've learned. Anyway, in my opinion, if you're going to buy these, which, you know, they are inexpensive. It can get expensive by the time you get a whole setup. Lacey was only 20 bucks at an expo. I thought that was a pretty good deal for a pet that can live up to 40 years old. And then, you know, getting on Marketplace and different things, there's always places you can usually find somebody getting rid of an aquarium. Every one of these rocks I found, obviously besides that gemstone. I bought that gemstone in a rock shop, but I just put it in to take pictures of his size today. Every other one of these rocks, me and my nieces and nephews found either on a beach, at an ocean, or in a river. And as you're out, you can just slowly collect. Even that one that looks like I bought in a rock shop, I found that just right out in the that was a river, but definitely outdoors. That one as well, it's a very cool rock, just found it outdoors. These ones with the holes, and the one that they're basking on was a beach in San Diego. So anyway, they don't need the gravelly substrate. Substrate meaning whatever you layer the bottom of your tank with. Another thing I learned, gravel is not a good substrate for the bottom. As they're eating their food, they can inhale gravel. Sand is also terrible because they can inhale sand as well. They have to have water to swallow. I've had Lacey in my hand and I've fed her out of water. She can't, it was just a test. You know, it was slow with her. She was a lot more shy than her counterpart, Graham. But it was a test to see if I could hold her in one hand and feed her from another, and she did, but she couldn't swallow the food because she was not in water. She just spit it back out. My point is, if you have sand and they go down and they grab the food from the bottom as they're sucking the water in that they need to swallow the food that they're eating, they're going to suck in the sand as well, and or tiny gravel particles. So I'll update you with more. Might post some DIY pictures as well before I had an aquarium, because for months I just housed my turtles in a DIY, one of the cheapest I've ever seen from all the YouTube videos I've watched. It was one of the cheapest setups I've ever seen, so I'll post that as well.